Applesauce and hand grenades. What does that have to do with anything? Nothing. Nice to see everybody. Hope you had a great Christmas. I'm wearing the same thing I wore last week. Why? Because I'm on break. It's a bold-faced lie. What's a lie all about? Doesn't really matter. Sometimes you lie down, sometimes you stand up. Sometimes you throw apples up into the air. Sometimes nobody does that. You ever have a strawberry backwards? What does that mean? Nothing. Yep, we're in one of those modes today. It's Capes and Cowls. And what are we talking about today? Comic book movies and TV shows. There were some of them. There weren't a lot of comic book movies out, but there were tons of TV shows. We're not necessarily going to do a ranking. I've done that on my own on a full-on list, but myself and Winston and Coy, we're going to just kind of have a conversation where, all right, look, here's one of the ones we really wanted to talk about. And it's not, again, not like a best and worst list, but we could bring up a stink bomb and we could say something like, look, this movie, it had potential. It made no sense. Here's a reason why. Let's talk about it a little bit and then we move on. But we just want to kind of go over all of it. So if you're brand new to the channel and never been here before, I'd love for you to subscribe to it. We're heading towards 70,000. We're almost there. I'd love to do it by the time we get to December 31st, but Santa would have to really, would have had done that already. But who knows? Maybe somebody's going to give me a New Year's present. We get like 7,000 subscribers in the course of 2 days. Is it going to happen? No. That's all right. We got 2023. Good sell, Harloff. All right, Patreon. Patreon.com/The Big Thing Show. That's where we live. Yep, we live there. We live in the Patreon. Come hang out. Good sell, Harloff. Subscribe to the podcast. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found. We're the only podcast that is on both those platforms. They've gotten rid of every single one of them. We're the only ones now. So if you want a podcast, you got to go over there or you're fucked. First one. So head on over to Spotify because I bought the entire company. This isn't even Kristian Harloff. It's Mark Cuban. And I own Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That's right. I'm going to run it into the ground like Elon Musk.
Yo, this white boy crazy.
Straight coffee with his head.
That's right. And if you want to support me, because I've just given you so many options and reasons too, Sith Council, show some class like I've been doing for the last 2 minutes and 26 seconds. And the Top Gun guy.
The Top Gun guy?
That's right, you crazy bastard. The Top Gun guy. Capes and Cowls, the big thing. All of it. Then some and more. I don't know what that means. That's the name of the show from now on. Then some and more. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. We'll see you next time. No, I'm just kidding. It's Capes and Cowls. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Capes and Cowls show. Big thing. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
A messy New Year's start. I like it.
Messy? It's not even New Year yet.
It's like
it's
2
almost
days.
there. Yeah, in 2 days. Take it easy. What up, everybody?
Hola.
Nice to see you. Nice to have you. Nice to be there. Nice to see there. Whatever the hell that means.
Remember when you thought you were going to change shirts?
Yeah, I brought another sweater because I was trying to be all like professional and be like, it's a new day, new shit. No,
Were you brand new to this
come on.
show?
Guys, it's
Yeah.
Capes and Cowls.
Yeah.
How about it says 5? I ain't changing
That's fine.
shit.
No shit. You're one also. All right. So what we're going to do is Winston has sent us a list of all the stuff that has come out. And we're going to go over said list. And there's some stuff that I haven't seen. I've been looking at a lot of this stuff and I don't know how much of it everybody has seen, but we're going to just bring up things that we wanted to talk about and like conversation wise. And I think we should save this one for like, the middle because someone's going to bring that up. But don't.
I mean, that's my favorite.
Yeah. Well, let's not bring that up yet.
Okay.
We'll talk because we're going to talk about that one probably in depth.
Yeah.
So let's start. Winston put together this list. So we're going to start with Winston. Winston, bring one of those TV shows, movies, any ones that kind of stood out to you right away that you want to talk about and what you either liked or were disappointed about.
There was a lot of good stuff to like, man. On the fringe side of things,
Just one.
Just one.
Yeah, to start, we're just going to do one.
Okay, I'll give you a fringe one. Okay. Young Justice Phantoms.
So tell me about that because I don't know what the hell that is.
Yeah, so Young Justice came out, oh God, it's been forever. I want to say 2013, maybe 2012. Was doing pretty good over on I don't think it was Adult Swim. It might have been Toonami, but it was over at Cartoon Network. They got canceled. Then there was a whole fan movement.
Why? What'd they say?
They did well for 2 seasons, but it was just like Cartoon Network was like, we ain't giving you no more money. You're done.
Yeah.
Fans came back and they're like, no, we want it back. And when DC Universe dropped, they did bring it back. Did a really great job, but same issue. It really kind of became a cult following type thing. But they gave them a 4th season, again, from fans pushing and pushing and pushing. And
What's it about?
So it is specifically following young superheroes, mainly sidekicks. So kind of similar to a Teen Titans type team of, you know, Wonder Girl, the multiple Robins, Batgirl, oh my God, Speedy. Jesus. Speedy, Kid Flash. Essentially all of these younger heroes.
Is he on drugs? Speedy. Because he is in the comics.
I know, right? It's following them as they're kind of coming into their own, not just as sidekicks, but as full-fledged heroes.
Okay.
And so this idea that the things that the Justice League, they have to be very forward-facing. It's like Superman, here's his face, all that. These sidekicks are actually working in the background almost as a covert op, like team, taking missions that they can't really have on the books.
And you love this?
It's been amazing. And
Yeah.
so this new season was phenomenal, where you have the death of Superboy and the fallout of that. And you have Beast Boy, who goes into full PTSD, like grief, depression because of that, because he feels like it's his fault.
Okay. So it's more of a mature show. Right? What? It's on HBO Max?
It's on HBO Max.
For how long?
I know.
Yeah.
And so that's that.
Buy it on Blu-ray.
Which
Right.
is why I would honestly say, if you didn't already check it out, go watch it immediately. The first, all 4 seasons are there. It is an incredible show.
So you're not an animated guy per se.
No.
So you didn't check this one out? Okay.
I just struggle. Like, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I just started the DCAU with Flashpoint and Red Hood.
You just saw Flashpoint Paradox?
First time.
Holy God.
2 weeks ago. Maybe 2 weeks ago.
That's
Maybe
I
a
just
week
saw
ago.
Mask of Phantasm last
Oh,
year.
I love
so,
Mask
yeah.
of Phantasm.
Yeah.
See, Mask of Phantasm is great, but so I only know like the '90s Batman animated series. So
Sure.
I know Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, Mask of Phantasm, Mr. Freeze.
Okay.
Those 3 I'd seen, but I hadn't seen Flashpoint until 2 weeks ago.
And what'd you think?
Loved it. So I think
It's
now
great.
I might do the Justice League War is next, I believe.
Yeah.
So there's a whole shared universe
dude,
of these movies
so
starting in like
good.
2013.
But this particular one
But
you didn't see.
this particular one, what I'm hoping that is the movies get me to enjoy the animated stuff
Yeah.
more as a gateway to this.
So it's Young Justice Fandoms, and you can see that on HBO
Max,
So
yeah.
that's
now.
Winston's first pick of one of the best of the year for season 4. It
was season 4.
That came out this year,
It came out this year.
and that was your favorite. One of your favorites.
It would probably be, because the only other animated one was
Well,
Harley. No, I know it was Harley Quinn. I don't know if y'all going to talk about that or not.
We'll find out.
We'll see.
All right,
My number 1 draft pick of the year
Harley Quinn.
is, I mean, it's number 2 actually. The Boys. I feel like The
Yeah,
Boys
it's a
was
good
so early, no one talks about it still, but they
Right.
really should. The Boys season 3, I thought did the impossible and leveled up both the intricacy of its nuanced take on satire, which I honestly thought they'd accomplished more than I expected them to do, because it's one of the rare things that the comic is good in the medium of comic books and has moments of being exceptional in a commentary in comic books, but comics are so niche compared to TV. So I didn't know if a show would translate. Like, the comic's good, but it's a commentary on something that has an audience 1/10 the size of shows.
Right.
So I was like, how is a show going to translate to be a satire of superhero culture, which is the biggest culture right now? And then the show kept leveling up season to season. I think season 2 is better than 1. I think season 3 is better than 2. And then season 3 is not only a commentary on the world of pop culture, but in politics, it really leveled up. It's linear commentary. And I really enjoyed certain sects of people being gobsmacked by what these characters represent to them, being kind of twisted on their heads. So this season, between Herogasm, between some of the last episodes reveals of, Herogasm went for it. But some of the reveals with Homelander, like, those things really impressed me they swung for an 11 and they hit it. Like, I was so impressed.
This is one of my favorite shows on television, and I just watched seasons 1 through 3 this year.
It's incredible.
I
so
forgot. We kept pressuring you and you wouldn't do it, and then you started. You said, "Oh my God!"
This show.
Well, no, but I've always, but it was that particular show I always wanted to watch, and I actually had started watching it. I just always wanted to get around to it because my friend is an executive on the film. She told me about it. On the show, she told me about it. I think she even sent me the pilot that I never looked at it, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks before it even came out. She's like, "This is going to be gonna be big," and everything too. And I remember going out to dinner with her and her telling me about it, and I always wanted to watch it. And I guess I even told her this year, I'm like, I sent her a text and I'm like, yeah, this is definitely up my alley. She's like, you just watched it now? And I was like, yeah. She just watched it now. She's like, and I watched that. I watched all 3 seasons like right away. And I mean, look, the bottom of my freaking
that's
thing.
you.
Know, it's like, so you got the Homelander right there.
I'm dead. Because he probably could have got an advanced interview with Anthony
Yeah,
Starr
like
and
back
whatnot.
before it was
So
the
by the way,
president.
so during SEN, I was offered many of them, and I didn't know any of them, so I didn't want. I was like, I can't watch it.
Dude,
So,
I literally went to Vancouver. I went to Toronto. I went to the set and visited everybody because like I know Derek, the comic artist.
Yeah.
And like meeting them was seeing my buddy's art come to life.
It's amazing.
And it was only in like I had a 2-hour window for all of them, and we could have had them in.
And I think for season 4, we have a chance to get them in studio or someone in the studio.
I mean,
For
not
season
really
4.
because I want you to grow, but I can see that. I wanted to be on the Kristian Harloff show, but your ass I ain't gonna watch your.
I know. I just literally had lunch with her like 2 months ago, so I made sure
I just saw Laz 2 weeks back at LA Comic Con because we know each other now through the set visit and stuff. And like Laz is the man. He's Mother's Milk, and he's
awesome.
is the most. Like they started reframing Mother's Milk to be more like him.
Yeah.
Like if you read the comic and then you know Laz a little bit, like it's really funny to see how they found that Venn diagram.
But
and the show does a good job of doing that.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up too, because it's really about. I mean, yes, the satire and the political commentary and all that is what stands out about the show, but it's also the character relationships, the humor. Carl Urban is doing like some, because I've always liked Carl Urban, but there have been some times where I'm like, I don't know if I'm really buying him in this particular role. He like just lives as Butcher. He's so good in that. Anthony Starr is the guy. I mean, he's the guy, and there's so many. I mean, and I also think Jensen Ackles was amazing.
Such an
this
incredible
episode,
new addition.
Yeah, what's his name? He's Captain America.
Yeah. What is the character?
Oh my
guys, we've been talking a long time.
Yeah.
Him.
Patriot.
No,
I
not
want
the
to say
Patriot.
Fighting
It's
American,
driving
but
me
that's
nuts.
the Rob Liefeld character
driving me
that's Captain
crazy.
America.
People are screaming at us right
they're
now.
right now. They're yelling. And we deserve it. They're not.
I
wrong.
can't believe you don't remember
It was from March.
Yeah.
Please, someone help us.
Soldier Boy.
Soldier Boy.
I remembered it, but I remembered it before I brought it up.
Full credit.
I
did remember it right before
I remembered
it
as I was typing it, I got Soldier Boy in my head.
I just
and he was
remember when they first mentioned it, I thought they meant Soldier Boy the rapper.
That's hilarious. Is that why you're doing this?
Yeah, it's Soldier Boy. You're like, oh, Jensen Ackles. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fantastic work.
Yeah.
Also, we're not giving credit to. I think the MVP of the show that doesn't get the. I mean, I think Anthony Starr is well deserved of getting the credit. I think Carl Urban, but like what Jack Quaid brings to Wee Huey is so human.
Everybody in it, and even Starlight, she's awesome too. I mean, there's so many.
Are we just not gonna even acknowledge Juan Carlos Esposito?
Yeah. So you know what is funny about he's just next level, right?
Yeah.
He's really good in the show, but I think he's not as utilized as he normally is.
He was season 2?
He's in 3.
Yeah.
He's in 3
Season
also.
2 and 3. But that's the thing is like there's so many powerhouses.
Yeah.
It's not on him.
He
but
doesn't
it's just,
He doesn't stand out the way he does, say, like The Mandalorian or like Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. He always stands out. But if I told you, all right, Giancarlo Esposito, what do you think of? You say Breaking Bad, you say Mandalorian, you say Better Call Saul. The Boys doesn't come to mind.
Days.
What's up?
School Days.
School Day, right. But it doesn't come. That's not the first one that comes to mind. He's great in the show, but he doesn't stand out the same way as other. I mean, like A-Train. A-Train's awesome too.
Yeah, dude.
So,
well, I love that the show balances like the boys are technically the good guys, but the Soups are so interesting that you have these two rival teams that are going, and you care about both so much because they're so differently devastating.
Yeah.
And most shows, like after a couple seasons, they kind of lose that nuance. They have to find like a favorable one.
No, it gets more
this
clever.
This show gets more, and like this season they put on the trench coats in a different way, and like that's starting to mirror the comic. In the comic book, they get Compound V issue 1.
Interesting.
So like it took 3 seasons to
I
get
like
where the
that they
comic
did that.
started.
I like that build. It's
And
almost
that's
like
genius.
Yeah, it's almost like, what the hell was it? The it was like House of the Dragon, right?
Right.
Like when the House of the Dragon in the book is like when they go past the little prologue, it's just like kind of a mention, and like even the stuff, the younger stuff is just kind of, it's not as layered, but they layered it more to get to the point that when we finally see kind of the older Rhaenyra. So yeah,
but Kripke's done, and I feel like Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg are these slept-on producers.
They don't ever talk about like, those guys, what they've done in as far as comic book
culture.
Yeah,
like
they,
I think they're the Kevin Feige's of television. Like what they've done, I think they're bringing in the nuance to like below the line.
And Invincible.
Yeah.
Well, no, they didn't do Invincible. They did the other one.
Rogan did.
Rogan did.
Seth
Yeah,
Rogen did Invincible?
Yeah.
With CAMEO?
Yeah.
Hilarious.
So that's what I'm saying. Is like Invincible, Preacher, The Boys.
The Preacher
like,
was the one I was thinking of.
That's
Preacher.
an incredible run.
It's hilarious.
Of,
I didn't know Rogan had anything to do with it. I worked at that company for 3 years, never heard his name once.
Well, because that was the thing. He does that one alien that comes to check it. He's like a Lobo type character.
Who's gonna be really big in
he's in the
season
show.
2.
You know,
He's
it's
in
another
the show,
thing.
but
Now
he's
I can
also
say it.
executive
Now I can
producer.
say it because I don't work there anymore. I never watched it. I know it's
Oh,
great. I know it's
dude,
great. I know
that's
it's
your
great. but I
boys
never
next
watched
year.
it.
You're gonna change your fucking icon.
I know. I'm
There's
gonna
my
watch
one.
it. I'm
There's
gonna watch
your
it.
one.
And, well, that was the other one. That was the other one. I
Merry
could have
Christmas,
people
you
from that
filthy
show
animal.
too.
Yeah.
But I was like, they're like, do you want people on? Well, I had to lie.
I want to get the 70,000.
I know.
We don't know what movie star is.
It's literally what I did.
Come in,
I went to
biggest
DA,
show at
I went
Amazon.
to, I went to DA's office. I was like, I haven't watched it. I was like,
The 2 biggest shows on Amazon.
I know.
You know the
They could
Introducing
have
show
them.
would still be a thing?
It's
I
so
would have done
crazy.
it.
True.
I would have done
I
Those
know.
it.
interviews we could have done. Hey, what did 2 weeks ago shoot? 20,000
it was
Winston
also,
and Clay
but it was
interview?
also, you guys know how I feel about digital. It was also
I
virtual
know.
interviews.
But
Which
next
was-
year, when the boys
That's what
calls,
I'm saying.
we
Yeah,
answer.
right. All right. But anyway, let's keep going on. We'll talk about some other stuff. So now it's my.
Over the holidays, when Kristian watches Invincible and realizes how much he
I
loves
know.
it.
It's the truth. I just watched the first
Seth
episode. It's
Rogen's
good.
here.
Bro,
I know.
the end of the first episode, Christian's going to be like,
Oh,
oh, God.
I feel like
We're
I
gonna come
watched.
back
Did
to
I
you wearing
watch?
yellow and blue.
I feel like I watched the first episode. Is that true? I watched some of it.
Well, because that was the thing. I don't know if you remember. We did a watch along, myself and Mike,
Yeah. For
of the first 3.
Yeah, right.
And I remember being on the watch along and being like, wow, this is pretty good. Oh my God.
And it
Yeah.
only goes up like the boys.
Yeah,
And
I'll
that's
watch it.
That's the power of Seth Rogen's pacing.
Amazon gave that show no love at first,
Right.
and then they finally did good, and they well deserved.
That's what I'm saying. Rogen and Goldberg, man.
All right, so I'm going to talk about one. I'm going to go movies here, and I'm going to talk about one that nobody was going to bring up because I'm probably the only one that saw it, and I saw it twice. Once by myself because I was going to screen it, and then I saw it with my 5-year-old, and that's DC Super Pets.
I love it.
I wasn't expecting much from it. Didn't know what I was going to get from it. Walked out with a big smile on my face, and I said, literally that. I have a movie that I can watch with my 5-year-old. And she watched the trailer when he's like jumping on Superman's head trying to wake him up, and she made me watch it like 1,000 times. She's like, show that again. Watched it, just eyes glued. And is it the best animated movie? No, but it's a fun, cute movie. I thought it was some really good performances by Kevin Hart. I thought Dwayne Johnson does a great job as the dog. I think that John Krasinski is amazing as Superman inside of it. And what I really loved about it was the fact that they used the John Williams theme in the very beginning. They use it a few different times, and then even the Black Adam cameo at the end of the movie I thought was pretty sweet too. But I don't know, you guys supposed to see
Oh,
it?
I
It's
saw
tied
it.
for my #1 surprise of the year with Werewolf.
Yeah,
like, I loved it, dude.
it's so good.
It's so delightful.
Dare I say it was the best rock movie of the year?
I have it ranked. I have it ranked higher than Black Adam. I enjoyed
do
Black
I
Adam.
have a ranked higher Black Adam. We
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
enjoyed Black Adam.
It's
that good.
It is so fun. I love the tie into the lore.
Yeah.
Like it is one of those movies that at any point in time, if one of my nieces or nephews are like, "Can we watch Super Pets?" I'm like, "Hell yeah!"
I've seen over 200 movies this year. It's in my top 20, which means DC Super Pets is in my top 10% of the year. Like, it's that good.
It was cute.
And I've seen a lot of movies.
It just was. It did the job. You know what I mean? It did the job, and it didn't do super well in the theater. But I also think that people didn't really know what it was.
It wasn't also marketed very well.
No.
They told us about it like I want to say 18 months before it came out, and I was like, "Oh, that's gonna be fun." And then
Just kind of disappeared. a little,
minimal
yeah.
marketing.
Some Diego Luna was really good in that
Yeah.
movie. Again, there's so many.
Dude, Kate McKinnon as that evil little guinea pig.
She was great. She was
Oh
great.
my God.
She sometimes she can be a little
A lot
for me, but she was great in that. It's funny because we were just talking about there was a role that I saw her. It was in what was the one with? It was about the Fox News thing. It was Bombshell, and Kate McKinnon is in that, and she plays this. She just kind of plays, I think Margot Robbie's, whether it's roommate or whatever it is. And she's phenomenal in it, and because when she was in Yesterday. You saw the movie Yesterday. She's in that movie, and it's like everybody else is, even though it's a comedy, but everybody else seems real.
Kate McKinnon is Kate McKinnon.
She seems like a Saturday Night Live character, and it's like, and it's a moment like that. And even though this movie, Super Pets, calls for some over the top, it fits, and she was the character. It was so. I thought the whole cast did that.
What's interesting is watching her evolve over the years. She was the star of SNL, clearly. Like
For
her,
sure.
her impressions and characters and all that.
She got
and
stuck in stuff.
And then she'd go into movies and people would be like, be Kate McKinnon. What I've seen recently, there was a Netflix movie that wasn't super good, but it was about, I cannot remember the name of it, but it was about a woman who's dying of cancer and she tries to help her husband find a new soulmate before she dies. She doesn't want him to be alone. So Kate McKinnon is in the cancer group with the wife. She's phenomenal,
right? Because she's not doing that thing.
Grounds like crazy. So
when she has the opportunity, but we're jumping back to.
I think that's the thing about Super Pets I like is that everyone in it is in the same movie, and that doesn't always happen.
Right, that's kind of what I meant. Exactly, that's
like
exactly right.
Everyone's at Kate McKinnon's level of wonky, wacky, good times, but it's all in the right tone.
Yep.
And I think Kevin Hart and The Rock are so good in this because they get to be that playful. It felt like I've always enjoyed the Kevin and The Rock moments in interviews more than the movies.
Right.
Like, and this felt like the interviews, but animated.
Absolutely. So anyway, so that's my pick. I really enjoyed the movie, and I think that it's, again, whether it's a sentimental thing, also being able to share it with my youngest, that was great too. All right, Winston, we got another one. You can pick TV. You can pick.
Okay, so I thought we were only doing TV. I didn't realize we go anywhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and call this one before y'all MFs try and claim Manifest Destiny. I gotta go Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Phenomenal. Yeah. You are dealing with trying to make a sequel for arguably one of the best, if not the best, MCU film, at least as far as standalones. You're dealing with the massive news and tragedy of losing Chadwick Boseman. You're dealing with the very hard task of, in a phase of the MCU that people are very iffy, this is supposed to be the end. And Ryan Coogler and that entire cast brought it, and they brought it hard. I know that there's still the movement that was like about recast T'Challa and all that kind of stuff, and the controversy that comes behind that. But what you got out of Namor, what you got out of setting up this entire culture of Telocan, what you got out of seeing Wakanda, Angela Bassett's performance, which she will probably get multiple nominations.
She's already been nominated for Golden Globes.
Already got the Golden Globe. She will probably, or the nomination for it. She will probably get the nomination for both the SAG Awards and for the Oscar.
I feel like she got nominated for the CCA. I'm not sure. Pretty sure. I think so. I think she did. Yeah.
So, but between all of that, and on top of the fact that, like, for a lot of us in the pandemic, we've been through a lot of grief. Yeah. We have dealt with a lot of death, and for them to full on tackle grief like that and what that means and how it affects people, I cannot think of a movie, especially a superhero movie, that I think touched me more than this. I'm looking at the rest of this list. There's another contender for like top of the pile, but because it was just a good movie, not because it said anything to you. This said something, and it said something hard.
I think that's a great point. I think I think that as we've talked about many times over, spoiler, I liked the movie a lot. I didn't love it, but I liked it a lot. But you can't but help appreciate and understand and just be in awe of what Ryan Coogler was able to accomplish in the amount of time from when we lost Chadwick to having to change the script, to having to emotionally wrangle in his cast himself and do all that and make it this story that I think works really well. I don't need to go into my grievances with some of the story itself, because it's not really about that. It's more about the stuff that really did work. And the stuff that really worked was exactly what you were talking about: the emotional connection, the saying goodbye, the consistent theme of loss throughout Phase 4, and all those moments that worked really well. And the introduction of Namor and being able to establish this new thing that is going to lead into Phase 5 and more characters and understanding that we will meet throughout it, and questions that were answered. There was a lot of really great stuff in this movie, and what I loved about it, what I did love about it, was that it took us back to the tone of Marvel that I fell in love with. And it took, there was humor in it, and I thought that Shuri and Okoye had some great moments of humor, the type of Marvel humor that, as I'm doing the rewatch, I loved. And it got away from the stuff that I was starting to go, oh, they're really losing I felt after Doctor Strange and Thor and She-Hulk, they really lost their way as far as learning how to balance. I thought they really lost it. This got it back and going, okay, well, they can still get back there.
To me, it was a shared catharsis. I think, you brought up all the grief we all went through over the last few years, and it was a really beautiful thing to be in a theater for me. Like, usually I like theater for spectacle. I don't usually go to the theater to cry with people, but it was really beautiful to be in a room sharing an emotion that is not negative, but like not joy. Like it was beautiful to share in a sorrow with others, and I don't usually have that in movies. Like I even when I see like a Meryl Streep joint where she's lobbying for an Oscar, I don't feel but you don't feel that. Like even no matter the performance, you don't feel like, oh, I get it. But like I think we all experienced Wakanda Forever, a certain shared experience, and that's in part to how we felt about Chadwick, in part how we felt about the last couple of years, in part how we felt about like these characters. It was this perfect confluence of grief, and I think that was really special.
Yeah, so that's a great pick. So far, we've gotten some really good picks on this list. And just the idea of, like I said, the way we're doing it, if you're tuning in, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we're just kind of bouncing back and forth and saying, like, what are the ones that stood out to you? Which ones do you really want to talk about? Because we have this full list that we have, and we know we're not going to get to all of them. So we want to make sure that we're picking off ones that we really wanted to talk about. And Coy, you're on the clock. What do you got?
Are we still saving the big one?
I think we saved the big one.
Okay, so I'm going to go with one of my biggest surprises of the year. I knew I'd like Harley Quinn. So it's not Harley Quinn yet, though I want to give her some love. My biggest surprise of the year was Werewolf by Night. Yeah, I knew I would like Werewolf by Night because I'm a big fan of the character, but in that it's novel. I didn't expect it to be like one of the better movies, or it's a special, but like we put it in the movie category because what do you call something
45-minute movie?
Yeah, like what do you call something over 20 minutes, under an hour?
Sure.
But to me,
not episodic either.
Right, it's a movie. So anyway, of the movies, it was my biggest surprise because the character in the comic books is serviceable. It's usually used in a way to be like, this is going to be this horror element or this thing. But in this, they were not only able to endear me to an entirely new world, but I saw the power of Michael Giacchino's directing. I saw a pulp that could go on to be an entire universe where now I want Ghost Rider there.
Right.
It gave me an Elsa Bloodstone that I like better than the comics because it wasn't just like a Tomb Raider light. It was an actually like investable character. It built a mythology out, and it did all of that in 45 minutes while like endearing me to an entire new corner of the Marvel Universe, much the way Guardians did. This is a Guardians level shift for me. Like the way Guardians made things cosmic, this gave me pulp horror, and I want that.
Sure.
So impressed. In 45 minutes.
I couldn't agree more. And I think I was sitting next to you or near you at D23 when they showed this. Mm-hmm. I had the biggest, after they showed this, everyone was like, it's great. I go,
we talked after, I was like, everything, and you're like, I don't. We just didn't see it.
When I looked at it, I was, the trailer, I'm like, I get it. They're just going for that kind of old school 1940s feel.
It's funny you do the same thing with WandaVision.
I did the same exact thing, which is I watched it and then loved it. Like that, I pride myself on the fact that I don't do I'm gonna hate this. Absolutely, and then I'll go afterwards and say I'm gonna, like, if I like it, I like it, and because I've gone into things going, oh man, this looks like garbage. Right, like She-Hulk, for example. Right, She-Hulk was one that I had such an emotional roller coaster with that one because like I looked at the trailer and I was like, this is not for me. I called everybody after the first episode. Oh, this is the show. This show's awesome. Yeah. And then after episode 3, like it was just a big fart pile. And so this was one that I'm looking at going, I don't know, man. And I was locked in from the get.
I still gotta watch it.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet? Oh, dude.
I'm glad I didn't ruin anything.
I was running the risk that if it said it's been out since Halloween, that's my fault. So
you'd love it.
3 months ago.
You will love it. It's great.
It's really special.
I think that what you said is also something to latch onto is that Michael Giacchino I was just telling one of the patrons on Q&A about this. She's actually a music teacher. She's very, very knowledgeable about it. And we were talking about it, and we were talking about how he doesn't have a style in music that you can listen to and say, oh, that's Michael Giacchino. Like, it's the opposite. That was Michael Giacchino?
Right, because it's usually so great to the character.
Absolutely. And he said, whether it's Planet of the Apes or the Batman or any Pixar movie, it's like that particular style, what he did there. So when he directed, you're going, man, well, let's see what he's got. He's got it. He's got the goods.
And it's specific. It wasn't broad strokes. It wasn't like this is a werewolf movie.
I think this was his coming out party. I think that I do not be surprised if he winds up directing
a huge
a
property.
big movie.
Yeah.
Like a big Marvel movie.
And like the team he assembled, like Kirk Thatcher is the Scottish guy in this, who's an incredible like jack of all trades. So in the movie, there's a Scottish character that the guy's not Scottish. He's like an actor that just does an incredible job. But then you look at the guy and he directed like 2 of the best Star Trek movies. He's also a guy he directed Muppets Christmas Carol. Like he's an everyman, but like he assembled that team. So not only did Michael Giacchino put together like the greatest version of this, but he also assembled his own unique medley of talent. And I want to see that expand the MCU because he like.
Well, it's a great choice. So Werewolf by Night again is on Disney Plus. That's a good one. If you have not seen that, and Winston for sure, make sure you check it out because it's great. So I'll stay in TV, and if we're gonna stay in TV, then I got to go with Peacemaker. Sorry, buddy. Peacemaker is another one that this was a different feel from say Werewolf by Night or WandaVision. When the Suicide Squad was announced, I was like, okay, I guess it's interesting. James Gunn's doing it. It's got to be better than the first one, but I was so put off by the first movie. And I didn't see it in the theater. It was like that was for all of 2021. I wasn't going to the movie theater, but I watched it and I just fell in love with it. So I've never been a massive John Cena acting fan. Like I thought he was terrible in Bumblebee. I thought he was good in Trainwrecked, but then I saw him in the Suicide Squad, and I went, "Whoa, this guy is awesome in this movie." And then they said that he's doing a TV show in this role. I go, "Well, I'm on board now if he's going to do this." And he is so fantastic in this role. Everybody is, and Freddie Stroma, by the way.
Yeah,
Freddie Stroma is, and I did have an opportunity to interview and talk to. And you talk about a guy that just nobody's talking about him in we were when the show was on, but he's someone I think should have gotten some recognition. He was fantastic, but everybody in the show and the way that they kind of play that into it, I thought, well, who's the actress that plays Amanda Waller's daughter? She was from Orange Is the New Black, and she was
Danielle. God dang.
But I love what she did, like in the role. Where she basically had this character that, like all these other really extreme, over-the-top characters, where she is like she's really our moral compass.
Why am I getting schmodown, like anxiety
flashbacks?
I want to say it's Danielle Penbrook.
I'm literally a computer right in front of your face.
Yeah, I just try not to use it.
Why?
Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, go ahead. Just tell us.
You can.
Danielle's right. Last name, like a water, like a babbling.
Oh, Brooks.
Yeah, Brooks. There we go. Well, Danielle Brooks she's really good in this. So, but did you guys expect a lot out of this, or what do you think?
So with James Gunn, I always expect a lot, and that's a scary high bar because he reinvents the wheel a lot, I think. And Peacemaker is a character that I did not care about at all. He's a character that is lower than C-list to me. He's a nobody character, and that means like, oh, the bar is low, but James Gunn bar is high. What's the show going to be? But then, like, my big surprise was Jennifer Holland. I didn't know her work at all, and then the entire time, she's the eye line to Peacemaker's absurdity. Yeah. So, like, I'd met Jennifer Holland.
That's Gunn's girlfriend, yeah.
Gunn's wife now, yeah.
Wife.
I'd met her. James Gunn used to come into my work all the time, so I'd met them through my work, and she was always like so impossibly kind, so impossibly like endearing and open. But I didn't know that would translate to this, this badass like spy. So I was worried because she's a sweetheart and like she's stunning and she's involved in the entertainment industry, but I didn't know how she'd be as the Black Widow-esque character.
Yeah.
So I was super impressed when she was like not this very sweet woman that I'd met through like social circles.
I just thought of something too when you mentioned that. She shows up in Black Adam.
Yeah.
So
does Amanda Waller.
I know, but Amanda Waller, but Amanda
Harcourt show up in Black Adam. I don't remember that
at the end, dude. And she's working
for
Amanda Waller in that lab,
which ties to Peacemaker.
I just missed it.
Yeah, and then
that's messy.
Yeah, it's just Amanda Waller showing up. They were throwing her in everything.
But that makes sense. That
makes sense. She's at that point, but it's
Jennifer
the fact.
Holland.
But you would figure James Gunn knew she was going in for that role. So and that he knew, like, how does that all play? How's that going to play into Peacemaker? How's that going to play into my DC? How's it going to play into all that?
Probably just told wife. I mean, well, spoiler alert, did I forget something? Harcourt die at the end? No. She survives.
She survives.
Okay.
She gets shot.
She gets shot. That's what it is. Okay, I remember.
We thought that was the penultimate episode twist.
I don't know if you already mentioned Freddie Stroma because I zoned out for a minute trying to look up something. He's my MVP of
He's
the
great.
show.
Yeah, Medford. Yeah.
As Vigilante.
Yeah.
Holy God.
Tuned out for a little bit.
Yeah,
I did.
That's nice.
But
We literally interviewed him on this channel. And
Yeah, we talked about how he actually got interviewed as opposed to the boys in the
that's
Invisible.
cool.
Right.
Yeah, it was a whole.
Okay. Well, the good news is
that
this.
show.
The good news is when I did it to you a couple weeks ago, you didn't even notice. I cut it out of the show.
You know, I go watch it.
When the editor has the power.
That's right. I cut it right out of the
that's
show.
so
So,
funny.
there's no proof except the fact that I just said it.
Yeah, now there's proof.
And now I know I just
No,
cut that
this
out
is
too.
gone There's the edit.
All right. So we got
hate everything.
same. All right, before we move on. All right. So once again, make sure you check it out. Link is in the description. All right, let's move on. We'll go to Winston now. We just we finished up with Peacemaker there. Winston.
How many more choices we got?
Well, let's see. We got
I got a boogie in 12.
you got a booger. You got 12 minutes. Winston, what do you got? How many?
I got until 12:30.
All right, so you got a half an hour. Coy's gonna be a lame-o at the last minute and
So
last
let's-
show.
Excuse me for listening to the
So-
schedule.
So like one for him, two more for me, I guess.
We'll just go until we go. All right.
All
So
right.
what do you got? Pick one.
All right, man. This is gonna be crazy. I'm gonna go with another one that actually made me genuinely happy.
What
I'm
you
gonna
got?
go with Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday
That's a
Special.
great call. I almost went with that for my last one.
I just, from top to bottom, I know you were afraid for a little bit, Kristian, that this was gonna get all goofy, like nothing but jokes, but it was, but in the sweetest way.
Yeah.
Where it felt endearing the entire time. You still got some action out of it. You get Mantis getting to see how powerful she really is.
Actually, for as jokey as it was, it had a lot of balance.
It really did.
Yeah.
It really, really did. You not only showed how powerful Mantis is, you actually added to the lore of what she means to the MCU, and now all of a sudden she is so much more relevant, knowing that, spoiler alert, that she's Quill's half sister. You have a phenomenal performance from Kevin Bacon.
He's so good in that
That's the
role.
balance.
So good.
That's why the thing works is the Kevin Bacon of it all.
And I think that's part of it, is that for as insane as like, okay, aliens and they're walking on Hollywood Boulevard, for Kevin Bacon to look at it and to genuinely be a real person in it and be like, what the but then to buy in when he gets mind controlled, for his acting to fully just go with him to go. I just thought it was so balanced.
I've had such a 180 on Nebula. In general,
I love her so much. I love that you're back on our side.
I've just had such a 180 on her when you go back to my earlier reviews when Mark and I saw it back in the day. I was like, I don't know what Karen Gillan's doing is working for me, and now I couldn't imagine anyone else in the
actors.
that line at the end. I don't want to spoil it again for anybody, but like at the end of that, like she spits out a line, and I burst out laughing. It was just her delivery on it, but it was such a James Gunn line.
It really is.
But it was hilarious, and and it was not so much that I just thought it was going to be jokey, because I think that's kind of a given, right? It was that it's like, what is this? I'm like, I thought it was animated at first. I didn't know what it was. I'm like, what is this? And then the trailer hit, and I'm like, and then I stopped, and I go, it's just a holiday special, guy. Just go with it.
Have fun. Have a holiday.
You know what it felt like? It felt like James Gunn, genuinely used to enjoy the Star Wars holiday special, but
He
knows
has
how
said as
hokey
much.
it was. So he was like, I'm going to take that and I'm going to essentially make fun of that, but
Yeah.
actually make something good out of it.
It was hilarious, and it was really good. So let's.
I think the holiday special shows that this is the most James Gunn cast of James Gunn people. Like, if you actually break down, like, Chris Pratt is exactly the right guy to be James Gunn Star-Lord. And Nebula, I think the reason I love Karen Gillan as Nebula is there's that bittersweet pain and dark humor in her in every facet that Karen is exactly James
She's
Gunn.
great.
Like, so I think the holiday special in such a limited amount of time showed exactly why he's the right guy.
Even the fact that like her present is the most assassin present
It's
you
hilarious.
can give somebody for
perfect.
Christmas.
It's more, yeah. Rocket's great. They get to see kind of bigger Groot, or what we're gonna do with Groot. But all right, Corey, you want to
I'm
go
gonna
for
take
it?
the big
You
one
can
because
go.
I gotta
Go
get
ahead.
out of
Go
here.
ahead,
Okay,
Corey.
my favorite movie of the superhero spectrum, and my number 3 of the year is a movie that I had the highest of expectations for. A movie that I think establishes an entirely new corner of an entirely new DC universe that should stay separate.
Morbius.
Morbius. It's Morbius time, guys. Jared Leto's Morbius is establishing why Sony is prevailing. No, I think what Matt Reeves did with the Batman was even more than I expected, because I expected a David Fincher-esque detective story of Batman. I expected an incredible grounded year 2 story. I expected all these things. I didn't expect poetry And there are moments in this film where I just lean back and I enjoy the atmosphere of a movie that does feel akin to David Fincher's work, where I can just appreciate a frame and an art form that is so unique to cinema. And then it's got Batman in it. I loved what Paul Dano did with, you know, the type of incel culture they dabbled in that felt more real than a lot of times. Like, that's a very well-tread villain, both Riddler and having like a message board trolls. But I think it did it spectacularly well. I think that it balanced Penguin as, planting the seeds of where that character can go so well. And Colin Farrell delivers 3 of the best performances of the year. One of them's Penguin. I think that what they were able to do with introducing a Batman-Catwoman relationship in a much more nuanced way is really intricate and interesting, and didn't feel like the Michelle Pfeiffer Keaton take, didn't feel like the animated series take, didn't feel like anything we had seen before, and they felt like they finally figured out the archetype of Batman has so many rogues because he's so broad that your antithesis can be the Riddler is Batman if he's not rich. The antithesis can be Joker is Batman if he doesn't have rules. The antithesis can be Penguin because he believes in crime more than justice. The antithesis can be Two-Face because he has justice, but also, like, Batman is so good a character that he can have 50 opposites, and Matt Reeves gets that, and so does Pattinson, and the movie is spectacular.
I agree. It's a really good movie, and it's my favorite comic book movie of the year for sure. I still stand by. I think it was a little long, and I still think that there were certain things that worked really well in the beginning. The David Fincher tone, the Riddler, Paul Dano as Riddler he's talking about 2 great performances with both this and The Fabelmans. You should see him. You should see him in that. 2 very different roles, and the acting, the directing, the music again by Michael Giacchino, all of that really plays into it. And then the ending of it was, and it's weird to say this, but it's because it felt like such a Batman ending as opposed to the movie previous that didn't. Yeah. It had suddenly Batman in it, but it was a David Fincher movie, and then the end just happened to be a Batman ending, which people are like, well, isn't that what you want? I was like, well, kind of. It was just set up that this was this whole kind of like really 7-ish movie the whole entire time, and then at the end it just felt a little jarring. But overall, it's a fantastic film. It really is. It's really, and it's much better on the rewatch, by the way, too. Yeah.
I need to watch it again.
Yeah, it's much better on the rewatch because, and I think that there's just, and again, that score, Pattinson's performance, Andy Serkis's performance, again, you're talking about he had a couple great year as well. So it's great. It's definitely my favorite comic book movie of the year for sure.
Who did Serkis play again?
He was Alfred.
That's right.
Yeah, you haven't seen it in a while.
I just the one time. I need to see it again.
You only seen it the one time.
I need to see it again. That's the one thing. I found myself this year, I did not, I watched like 2 things twice. Wakanda Forever was one. And for some reason, Multiverse of Madness. I'll take that as my next pick. I wanted to give it another shot because
we're switching into that one.
Yeah, okay. we can hop into that because you guys covered most of what I was going to say about the Batman.
Okay,
there's nothing else to go
there.
there.
And then you can just you give your piece on it and then take off.
Sweet,
all right, great.
So Multiverse of Madness, I watched it a second time. I like it significantly better than what I felt the first time, but I still have the problem, and this is for me. This is, in my opinion, more of a Sam Raimi movie than it is an MCU movie. And it's not to say that Sam Raimi is bad or anything, but Sam Raimi is a very specific style and taste. And those that love him, of course they love this. And there are little elements for me as a comic book head and all that kind of stuff. I loved seeing Professor X in his X-Men the Animated Series chair. I loved seeing John Krasinski actually going to play Reed Richards, even if it's only for a moment. All these little things were great. But for me, it just didn't vibe with me the way that I was anticipating. And it's not because I was expecting something. It's just the tone didn't work. And there were certain elements that if I can logic my way out of it, and even within the world of the superhero stuff, then it doesn't work.
Yeah, I think the expectations of that movie was pretty big. And it's not just, as you were saying, not just because we were like, oh, we're going to see this person, because we were kind of spoiled from No Way Home, right? Because we got those 2 big reveals with Garfield and Maguire. So you just think that automatically that's going to happen. They spoiled the stuff for the Illuminati inside of it. But I was more excited about Doctor Strange 2 because I liked Doctor Strange 1 and I wanted to see how it was going to play into the multiverse. I really wanted to see how it was going to play into What If, and I really wanted to see how it was going to really tie in all of the WandaVision stuff. It let me down on all those fronts, and I appreciate Sam Raimi. I'm just not a Sam Raimi head. So I think because because of that, it's one of my more disappointing movies of the year.
I'm gonna go that Doctor Strange is exactly why DC can do incredible things if they keep their universes separate, because I feel like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is my favorite What If episode. Unfortunately, it's not a movie to me in the MCU. So what that could have been if they let Sam Raimi make a What If or an Elseworld, which is what DC is going forward with, let your creative directors that you want to have their artistic stylings do Elseworld movies.
Right.
Let Todd Phillips make Elseworld Joker, and then let, Matt Reeves make a Batman that's over here, but then let your Batman that actually makes sense next to Superman be over here.
And you're saying Marvel do the same thing?
I think Marvel should start letting, because if everyone is spending...
because they need more stuff to do.
Well, I mean, obviously they don't have enough content every year. We don't have enough Marvel. No, but if everyone is going on TikTok and yelling about Easter eggs and looking for connectivity and yelling excitedly about these things, you lose the actual storyline. If everyone's wanting connectivity to the point where they're not going to go watch, Aquaman next year, then you're missing out on the actual 2 hours of that movie experience. What DC can do is they can make a Justice League universe and then make an Elseworld universe. And if Marvel had that, then they could have made this a What If episode, let Sam Raimi run even more free and do some of the things we've seen in previs, and I would have given this movie a much higher experience. But the MCU is so beholden to itself that I think that they're having to reposition so it doesn't collapse in itself. I think Secret Wars is going to expand it, but for now they're having a really tricky spot in Phase 5, and this movie showed the weakness of making everything so tight.
All right, well, before Coy takes off, I want to tell you guys about the Boom Studios. We have Boom Studios, and there's a new thing that I wanted to talk about, just about what they sent us today. It's awesome. Here you go. Boom Studios is back, everybody, and we're so excited once again. What a way to end off the year, and as we're talking about the best of in the comic book realm, Boom Studios has been putting out some of the best stuff. Now, I'll tell you, this is very exciting because they're ending their year on a high note with the crossover event of 2022. Now, we told you guys about this once before, and here it is. Once again, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they're back together for an epic new story, and it's written by Ryan Parrott and artist Dan Mora. Now, I love this so much. I was so glad we got a chance to look at it a while ago, and I told you about it. The art in general. Now, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was something I definitely grew up on, and I missed the Power Rangers, but I got into it. I got to tell you, I like the last movie, and this is the stuff that really got me more on board. I love the idea of this crossover between both the Turtles and the Power Rangers, and the art. The art inside of this stuff is just, look at that. That is so amazing, this absolute crossover between both the Rangers and the Turtles. If you're listening to it on audio, you should come by and check out on the YouTube channel so you can catch some of this art. It really is tremendous, and they're picking up basically where the last series left off. And the teenagers with attitude, you guys know them and love them. They love pizza, we love them. And the heroes in a half shell, they are teaming up for one more time to take on a terrifying new foe. So both the Turtles and the Power Rangers, it's available now at your local comic book store. And I'm telling you, this is one of the coolest crossovers. And one of the things I like about doing it, look at that. That's so great. Bebop, Rocksteady, and then you got the as it keeps on, it's like just the difference of it. You see how intense this series in general looks, but like just the craft. Look at that, the way that it blends in, and the style altogether of this series. April O'Neil with a crossbow. Who doesn't like that? And as Coy had mentioned many times over, with Parrott and Mora are someone I'm learning all these names now so much more because of Coy, but this is an amazing series, and it's such an amazing crossover, and I'm glad that Boom is doing it because, as we've said, there's so many different things that Boom does, and they have done these two familiar, beloved properties in both the Power Rangers and the Turtles, and all these characters coming together in this epic crossover event. So make sure you go to your local comic book store, get on over there, get yourself a copy, and by the way, when you purchase any of Boom's comic books or anything in general, let them know that we sent you, because more people keep telling us that they keep hearing about Boom through us, and I love hearing that. So, all right, once again, thank you to Boom, and what a way to also include this on the best of comic books of the year. All right, thanks again, everybody. Thank you to Boom Studios. All right, so as we're going to continue, we lost Coy Jandro, but Winston and I are going to continue on here as we talk about the back and forth of some of the best and maybe the worst, as Winston brought up. I don't think the worst is the right word, but maybe
it's not the worst, disappointing.
Yeah, and I think that's with Doctor Strange when you brought that up just recently. But I'm going to go into a TV show here, and I was going back and forth with which one I was going to bring up, but I'm going to bring up actually Ms. Marvel.
Nice.
Now, Ms. Marvel was one, not that I didn't have necessarily high expectations for it because I wasn't as familiar with the character. But when I saw the trailer, and the trailer itself was like a Scott Pilgrim thing, and the first thing that I said immediately was, this looks like something that my, at the time, 10-year-old is going to love. So I'll probably watch it with her because I don't know how much it's going to relate to me. I did not watch it with my 10-year-old. I watched it by myself, and I loved it. And the reason why I loved it was not because of the superhero stuff. The superhero stuff worked. It was the family dynamic. It was the understanding of the Muslim culture, which I was not, not super familiar with, but they did it in a way that wasn't intimidating.
Sure.
They did it in a way that was welcoming, and they did that with it, and it was also relatable. Even though I'm not Muslim, but I even with the culture inside of the mom and the dad and the dealing with kids and the relationship, I related to all of it, and I was like, I have such a appreciation to this. And she, the lead, which if you want to,
I can bring it up. I want to say her name is like Imani.
she's a superstar,
Iman.
a superstar, and she is. I mark my words,
Iman Vellani.
Iman Vellani. Mark my words, that once the Marvels comes out, she is going to be the star of that film.
Yeah,
she is going to be the one that stands out. She is going to overshadow both Rambo and Danvers. She's going to overshadow both of them. Just from the trailer that they showed at D23, she was the one that everybody was locked in on. She has this moment in space, is all I'll say. And you're locked in on her because she's electric. She is likable. She is funny. She is warm-hearted. You can see all this stuff about her. She is a star. And that's the reason Ms. Marvel worked. I really enjoyed it.
I completely agree with you. I think you focused on what was important. I think it's this young girl trying to figure out where she fits into the world, what makes her different, and how that bothers her. And then you amp it up to 11 because now she has superpowers. Right. So it like both allows her to live out this dream that she's always wanted, but it also the complications of it and all that, which is always Miss Marvel's story, but they just did it so well and they translated it well, because I will be honest with you, when they announced they were changing her power set, I got pissed. Right. I was like, this is going to affect it a lot. I'm not on board. But they won me. They won me over.
You know what they did do? They did bail on that Scott Pilgrim stuff.
Styling. I don't love that they did that.
They bailed on it because
I wish they had kept it.
Me too. The first episode, they really lean in on it, and then it just kind of goes away.
I almost wonder if they just ran out of budget. So maybe they put it in because it was in the first like 2 to 3 episodes, and then it just disappeared.
They just got rid of it. All right. So Winston, it's on you now. What do you got?
All right. I'm gonna go with.
You going back to a stinker?
I'm going to go, I wouldn't call this a stinker, but I will call it the most controversial of the year.
I know where we're going.
You already know where I'm going. I'm going with She-Hulk Attorney at Law. There is a lot to love. There is a lot to question. There's a lot that people hate. You literally did not see a single one of the ones on our list here that was probably more decisive or divisive than this show. And it's because I think most people could universally agree that the star of the show, Tatiana Maslany,
she's great.
Can't touch her. She's
great.
Incredible.
Star.
You could also make the argument that a number of the storylines and stuff that was going on was phenomenal. But then there's moments where you just lost people because you didn't focus on the main story going forward. You kind of felt like you went on a lot of side quests or diversions. Some of them that I loved and you didn't. Some that we universally agreed, nah, son. But I cannot think of a show that honestly was maybe more talked about than any of these that are more talked about than this because of how.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I get that. I just the problem with this show, I thought this show that the writers were too proud of themselves is what it ultimately came down to. It just seemed like there were things, as I mentioned earlier in the show, when it started out, I was like. And I hate continually using the same word, but balance, right? The first episode to me seemed like such a perfect balance of what is Marvel and then this idea of the Ally McBeal style, the to the camera, on the nose, talking, breaking the fourth wall, doing all that stuff and having those conversations and like all that. I thought that if this is the show, I'm on board. And then episode 2 was kind of the same thing. I'm like, I'm on board. And then they just went into this place where everything just became almost like a spoof of itself, similar to my issues with like Thor Love and Thunder, right? And then they got back to that feel that I liked with the Daredevil episode, which like it wasn't the humor. The humor was fine if it's, again, like anything else, balanced. Like when Daredevil's walking out on the walk of shame and he's walking down, it was hilarious. It's really like that type of stuff was great. Now, people are torn on the finale, right? I really dislike the finale because it really rips you out of the idea that we dislike it for different reasons. I think your point is valid, where like if they would have explained this stuff a little bit more in the time that they had it, didn't utilize it.
It was all it was is you can have that entire conversation with Kevin.
Yeah.
I need you to, once the conversation is over,
show me how it all
back
happened.
Into the scene and let me watch it happen. Don't go when the conversation is over with Kevin. Hey, I'll see you in jail. Yeah. All right, thanks for the season.
I just didn't like I mean, I don't mind the little peek behind the curtain when she's talking to the camera, because Deadpool does it and it works too, and it works fine for me. It was the major stuff inside the room, and then the idea, like the first few episodes, and even throughout it, I thought it was clever, and I said as much in my review when they were kind of going after like the online culture and the hate mongers and all that stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, I like the way they're doing it. They became obsessed with it. They became like it was the entire show, and it was us versus them, and it's like when people tell you don't feed the trolls. That's what the show felt like at the end. It felt like don't feed the trolls, because you're mimicking people like troll wise, and you're bringing reference to certain things and things. It's like, it's funny every once in a while, but when the whole show is that, yeah, this show is one of my most disappointed Marvel things. Probably, if I rank the whole MCU, it's in the toilet.
I think what is the reason you can do the mocking the trolls thing, if that is actually what this is about, but it's not. It is about this new superhero that's going to have larger implications in this universe. You know what I'm saying?
But that's the problem. This show didn't know what it was by the end. It had no idea. It made attempts sometimes.
I guess it's one of those situations where it's like you go into something and you know ultimately what you need to do, but you get so caught up, again, call it a video game. You get so caught up on the side quests, you don't focus on the main story, and that is the issue.
Absolutely. I agree. All right, so moving on then to another one. That was definitely a disappointing one for both of us. So the next one that I would probably go into, if we're gonna go into, we brought up Super Pets already. Mm-hmm. So all the really good. Well, you know what? I'll bring up Black Adam. All right. Let's talk about Black Adam, because Black Adam to me is, and I think I've been pretty an advocate for the movie. And I'll start with the criticisms of it, the criticisms that I agree with. Right? You've seen it a million times before. It definitely feels like it didn't. It hasn't evolved the comic book genre. It feels like it almost regressed a little bit to where you've seen it a million times over. It felt like a Mummy movie, like that a Mummy sequel or whatever. And I agree with that. But I had a lot of fun. And I really did. And I enjoyed watching this. And I enjoyed watching it more than Thor: Love and Thunder. I enjoyed watching it more than Doctor Strange. I don't think that they're better movies as far as filmmaking goes overall, but I had more fun watching them. Sure. I enjoyed what The Rock was doing. I loved the idea that the anti-hero stuff. I loved what they did with the Justice Society. I thought that was all worked really well. I want to watch the movie again. That's the thing, is those other two movies, like Doctor Strange and Thor, I don't ever really want to watch them again. I started watching, I tuned into Doctor Strange yesterday just to see the opening scene. It looks so fake. It looks so fake. And well, of course it's fake. It's in a different, you know what I mean? I don't believe that it's real. Yeah, it looks like green screen, and he's walking back with the ponytail and everything too. And I don't know what it was about Black Adam. I enjoyed it. I had fun with it.
I would say
music's great.
The music is really good. I would say that as we're dealing with superhero movies, and we are I think just outside the golden age. We still have a lot of them, but I think we have hit that point now where we're beginning the decline. Nobody is asking you to reinvent the wheel, but wheels have not been made of stone for a long time, and that's what this felt like.
That's fair.
It literally felt like all the innovations that we've made, you said nah, and you went back. And so my only
lot of slow motion,
so much,
it's a lot of slow motion,
and it truly gave me those 2000 superhero vibes, and I'm not for the.
You're over it.
I'm over it.
Yeah, which again, like I said to open it, like I understand all the criticisms. I was there watching it going, I don't know what to expect from this. And it has nothing to do with like the post-credit scene. Now it is what it is. It's just kind of a throwaway post-credit scene.
I don't really care about that.
It doesn't matter anymore. But like really enjoyed watching the movie, and it's a fun movie to eat popcorn with. It's a fun movie to have snacks with, and so for that reason, I enjoyed it. But I understand the criticisms. All right, so we got a couple more here, Winston. That you want to? If you got anything else you want to throw in?
I mean, I would love to talk about the meme of the year.
Which one?
Morbius.
Have you seen? Did you see Morbius?
I finally saw it. It's on Netflix, so I watched it.
Okay. It's another one.
That movie is awful.
It's bad.
It's awful.
Yeah, but Ariana, what's her name? Ariana?
Ana de Armas?
No, not Ana de Armas. It's
She's not in it.
from freaking Andor.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm not going to be able to pull that one.
My head's just. And I was so proud of myself this morning because I had her name right, it's Adria Arjona.
Okay, got it. Morbius is incredible not because it's a good film. Morbius is not incredible because of the post-credit that supposedly doesn't even make sense. If the Vulture is in this different universe now, where the hell did all of a sudden he get all his T'Chari tech from? That doesn't make logical sense. Because he was in prison and was still in prison.
Yeah, but this movie's nice and short.
It was purely incredible because of the meme job. Do you remember what happened?
With Matt Smith?
No. So, the Matt Smith stuff was funny too. Yeah. The reason why it was hilarious is that trolls essentially got a hold of it and they kept going on about how incredible Morbius was and Morbius 2, it's Morbin time. We can't wait for it. Yes. Sony's like, wait, we do have a hit. We're going to re-release it, and it bombs a second time.
Oh, they re-released it?
They re-released the movie after it had already bombed. It had a very short run because of how bad it did. They re-released the movie, and it did, I think they said, the amount of money they had to spend to re-release it, I think it only made like $50,000. It was something insane.
Yeah, why would they do that?
Because they thought people were genuinely all of a sudden like, no, this is an underappreciated movie. We are so here for Morbius, and did not read the room that the internet was making fun of them. And they went back. So for me, this movie gets more love, not because it's good. It's awful.
It's bad. She's great. She's great in it, though. By the way,
which is fine. There's a couple performances that come through pretty well. Mm-hmm. It's amazing because the internet was able to truly troll a studio, and they didn't get it.
Well, look, either way, the movie, like, it was one of those things. I saw the movie and everybody was walking out how bad it was, and I said, yeah, it's bad. It's the same thing though. It's different than Black Adam though, because I thought Black Adam is just generic and it's fine and it's fun. This movie's a bad movie, but I didn't mind watching it. And it was one of those. There's some movies like again, do I think that both those movies, Thor and Doctor Strange, are significantly better films? Of course I do, but there's no compare. I mean, I still also wouldn't. If you said which one you got to watch again, you got to watch one of those movies or Morbius. Morbius is an hour and a half. I can deal with it.
Nah, dude.
I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I don't know how true that is yet. I gotta see. I have to see. I'm gonna watch. Like I said, I'm approaching Doctor Strange 2 with my daughter once we get there, and I'm gonna watch it. And same with Thor, and I'll watch it. And maybe look, I haven't watched Thor since Love and Thunder since we saw it that day together. So maybe I changed my tune. I just know that it's just been lingering like a bad tuna sandwich left out, for months in the hot sun. So I don't know. But all right. Before we got to get the hell out of here, but before we do, let's see. There's one I gotta mention. Okay. And that's Moon Knight.
Okay.
Gotta mention Moon Knight. So Moon Knight was me. I think I loved Moon Knight more than most. I did not like the season finale. I thought the season finale was not good, but I thought that the penultimate episode was one of the best episodes in Marvel television.
Him in his own mind. Oh my God.
It's one of the best Marvel television episodes ever, I would venture to say. It is brilliantly shot. It's brilliantly acted. It's unfortunate that I think that because the series didn't have a strong ending, that Oscar Isaac was ignored. I thought he was doing next level stuff in that episode, and I think he should have been considered for roles. Maybe he will be for an Emmy. Probably not. But yeah, I really enjoyed Moon Knight, and probably more than most. But where did you stand on that? I forget.
I was on board, but I was getting kind of bored.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, because if I remember correctly, this was dropping Miss Marvel was dropping the same time as Boba Fett, right?
Yes.
So this was right after?
Something along those lines. Yeah.
So I just found myself all of a sudden, this didn't become appointment viewing for me. There was a point at which I was like, you started with something strong and now I don't know how I feel. And then that penultimate episode, like you said, was incredible.
Yeah.
But then the ending, I was just like,
didn't deliver. The ending did not deliver. No, it didn't deliver. All right, so some honorable mentions because we're gonna wrap the show today. But some honorable mentions that not even honorable mentions, just ones that we didn't bring up. Like obviously we mentioned it, but Thor: Love and Thunder. I don't want to get in depth in that film. The Sandman is one that again I have not finished, but what I had seen thus far, really, really enjoyed and want to finish. I don't know what Paper Girls is. Naomi. Just ended. It was on CW. It was actually one of the better CW superhero shows, but only really got that one season because CW also cleaned house. Okay. Heartstopper, DMZ, Titans, Baymax. Baymax kind of came and went, huh?
It did.
I remember that trailer hitting, and nobody talked about that at all. Yeah. Harley Quinn season 3, and then Stargirl season 3. And
Doom Patrol season 4, which is on right now. But Harley Quinn season 3 was great. That show continues to be consistent. I'm very curious what happens now that Patrick Schumacher and not Schumacher. Oh my goodness, Patrick's gonna kill me because I actually know him. Patrick and the other showrunner, they both left because they work on Abbott Elementary now.
Okay. Yeah. All right, everybody. Look, that was our end of the year show. We were able to tell you about all the things that we loved inside of it. A couple disappointments here and there, but for the majority of it, that's what we really enjoyed out of the comic book movie, TVs, and movies. How about you guys? This is where these shows are super important. I want to hear your thoughts.
Schumacher.
You don't have to give me a full-on list. If you want to, absolutely, please do. But if you just want to say, hey, look, one of the things you guys talked about, I like this, or I like this episode of this show, or I really like this movie. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your opinions. I love reading your thoughts and hearing all the things that you guys really like discussing. If you've never commented before on a video, do it on this one. We want to hear what you guys loved this year in the world of comic book movies, TV. And did we miss anything? Is there anything else?
We covered pretty much everything.
So anyway, for myself and Winston and Coy, we hope you guys had a wonderful holiday. We hope you have a hope you had a great 2022. And if you didn't have a great one, smile. 2023 is right around the corner. So keep your heads up, do what you got to do. And if you're brand new to the channel, subscribe to it, will you? We're almost at 70,000. So we hope that you can get us there. With that, patreon.com/thebigthingshow. You can find me and Winston and Coy on social media one way or another. Thank you to our friends today over at Boom. And man, we got anything? Oh yeah, do yourself a favor and get yourself a Capes and Cowls, your shirt or mug or something along those lines. All right, guys. For myself, Winston A. Marshall, Coy Jandro, thank you for joining us on the show today, and we'll see you on the flip side. Peace.